So
I'm
Congressman
Rahall.
Thank you for coming out and speaking to us today and listening to our comments and concerns. The common ground that we all hold on this issue is actually the Constitution.
No.
Lower the mic, yes, sir.
Oh, so if you want us.
Where we recognize the Constitution as the ultimate authority on all government responsibilities, duties, powers, and all our liberties come from it. And as long as we stick to it, they'll be protected. And when we get away from it, we risk losing all the others that we find so dear. Because of the impact of this legislation and its importance, I ask you, where do you find the authority under the enumerated powers in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution for the Congress to enact this legislation?
Interstate commerce.
Preamble, read the preamble.
Interstate commerce, preamble of the Constitution. And I'm not going to, and I appreciate the copy of the pocketbook Constitution you gave me with the description therein. And I'm not going to sit up here and say I'm a constitutional scholar. I leave that to Senator Byrd. Suggesting, I think, at an earlier town hall meeting this week that he should give classes to his colleagues in the Congress on the Constitution. That would be wonderful. But I do say, Calvin, that, you know, I am interpreting responsibilities I feel I have as a member of Congress to represent the people that have elected me. The people are my boss. And they have been for the 33 years I've been honored to be in this position. If there are times in which we run afoul of the Constitution, I dare say there's enough lawyers that will make sure that that is tested in the courts of our land. But I firmly believe that I'm upholding the oath of office I took to defend the Constitution of the United States, and until I'm proven that I've done otherwise, I'm going to continue doing what I think is best in the interest of the people that represent me and in our country.
The father of the Constitution on the issue and some of the powers that were cited.
I'm sorry, I missed that first part.
I said, if I thank you, and if I may follow up with a quote from James Madison, who was the father of the Constitution, when some of the powers were cited, such as the General Welfare Clause and the Interstate Commerce Clause. And this is James Madison. If Congress can do whatever in their discretion can be done by money and will promote the general welfare, the government is no longer limited when possessing enumerated powers, but an indefinite one subject to particular exceptions. Thomas Jefferson actually continues saying Congress has not unlimited powers to provide for the general welfare, but where to be specifically enumerated. And that as it was, never meant they should raise money for purposes which the enumeration did not place under their action. Consequently, the specification of powers is a limitation of the purposes for which they may raise money. If we risk going outside of these bounds and say this could threaten maybe the state's rights, as I understand it from my current classes here at medical school, from a public health officer giving lectures, healthcare currently falls under state jurisdiction. How would this undermine something like the 10th Amendment? And if we can enact legislation that would undermine a certain amendment, what's to protect our other rights that we hold so dear? And even maybe things like health care. What protects our rights? Restrictions you might be finding in some of these bills where they're saying you might be able to search a person's health records, or search a person's tax records to make sure that they're compliant with this legislation.
Well, you know, there are many issues across the whole spectrum by which the Congress has acted in the past that establishes minimum federal guidelines. The states, of course, have the option to go above those minimum guidelines. It's not a usurpation of states' rights that we're undertaking in this effort. Just like it was in many other efforts, whether it's a surface mining of coal or whatever. There comes a time when the government does have to, on a national level, enact minimum federal standards so one state doesn't try to undercut another, so that one state doesn't have health and safety regulations to protect our people, and another state says to heck with protection of health and life. So there has to be that type for the general welfare of the people. You have to have that minimum national standard, national minimums.
I thank you for that, and then I also may add, based on what you just said, we're in the proper process to do that amendment process to the Constitution of the United States rather than legislation. Just to protect our Constitution, an amendment would be the proper method.
Thank you.
We feel that would be the way, and that's it.
Well, I appreciate it. And you know as well as I do what it takes to pass an amendment.
Those of you with comments in row 2, if you care to form up now, it'll